Okay, here's a classic example in Photoshop of art that we get. This was a PSD sent to us because it is Photoshop, it's raster. We know that straight out of the box. But if you're unfamiliar yet with raster graphics and how to use those or really understanding them, a simple thing like this of a zoom in, you can see these are all pixels. They're not nice curves and paths, which really for artwork like this, that is very simple, it probably should be vector to give us the best possible results. Anyhow, it came in like this goofy storyboard. It's all jacked up in sizing. And so I'm going to show how to fix this, but something more importantly to keep note of is just how much time this takes. It's all fairly simple stuff, but it takes a lot of time to clean and fix artwork. So first thing is, let's just clean it up and get it close to the actual art size, because I don't know why the board is all over the place, but it is. So click over there to crop it down to make it a little bit more manageable. And push return. I'm going to push Command H as well to get rid of my rulers. Make sure you can see this a little better. So we have it sliced down now, basically, so we can actually resize this and make it to the final size that the art should be. I don't even know what size this is, so let's see what size it is. Let's see what DPI they sent it over at. So we're gonna go image size. Okay, problem number one. They sent this little guy over as 7 inches. You definitely aren't going to want that as 7 inches on t-shirt. So I'm going to take it up to 11.5. I'm going to upsample it as well and bring it up to 400. Sometimes I like to go even higher than that. Just going to help make the pixels tinier and make the path fittings. Let's go 500 even just for the heck of it. Better, especially because with this one, I'm probably going to go back in and image trace it, clean it up versus leaving it truly as a raster graphic. So once you do that, hit OK. It may take a minute because I just made this into a big old file. So we can see already that it's much bigger, but check it out. We still got a lot of pixels. I'm not loving that look, even though they're going to be smaller than what they were. So what we're going to look at doing is probably taking this back over into Illustrator and image tracing it. So knowing that, I want to make this as easy for Illustrator as possible to be able to pick up and define exactly what it should be tracing and what it shouldn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to layer style, and then I'm going to hit color overlay. Oh, hang on, let's go back. They have all these pieces split up as different pieces in different layers. Don't know why, but let's merge that down. Let's do it one more time. We could merge all visible either way. It gets us, okay, now those are all down to the same layer. Again, why those were each on separate ones, I don't know. So back to that again, layer style, color overlay. And we're going to go to a really deep dark black, which, generally I'll click down in here in one of these corners to get that. Okay. So we've got it nice and bold now. Illustrator is going to be able to work with that a lot better. But you could see still, even in this, because of whatever they started this file as originally, it's not professionally created. You can make high quality raster graphics. This is not the case. This is, I don't know. And so it's very low quality, even though now it's upsampled to 500 DPI. So we've got to vectorize this to make it even worthwhile. Go to File and just, I'm going to save this as, they're calling this LC Swoop logo, but what I like to add on with my PSD is now I'll put in something like this, upsampled. That way I know which one it is. Throw it over on my desktop to make it easy. Okay, cool. So now let's go back over into Illustrator. And I'm going to get a new, I like big stuff to start with, 12 by 12. Open that up. And just to make it easier when you image trace too, when you go into here, it's probably best to switch over to transparency grid. That way you can see if there's any white pieces in there. Okay, now the pumpkins. We're gonna go to File, Place, back to our desktop. We just saved that. Remember, get the upsampled one, not the original. Otherwise, you'll have a little guy that's a lower res. Cool, so now we have this in here. Now we need to image trace it, which if you've never used this before, window image trace, there it is. We're going to leave this in the black and white setting because that's probably going to be the easiest way for Illustrator to use this. And what we want to do is when we start playing with these, we want to zoom in here because this is what matters. You see a lot of image trace is pretty cool, and I'm old enough to remember when there wasn't such a thing. When done well, image trace is a great tool. When done poorly, it screams to any artist, my God, that was poorly image traced. So this matters. First thing, click ignore white. Now what I think is the easiest is to now just click preview. It may take a little while, depending on the graphic size, but that lets us know what this is going to look like. Okay, so it's a lot better already, but it's still not great. So let's play with our threshold. Can bump that up a little bit, see what makes it better. Of course, there's diminishing returns because you'll see up here we start closing in our details. So you don't want to go too much. It's probably somewhere right in there was about as good as we're going to get. Now, the next selection you have is your paths. You can bump that higher and lower as well. You see it lower makes a lot more of those little knobbies going around it. So I want to keep that fairly low. Now, again, diminishing returns. You start getting these weird corners on things that aren't smooth anymore up in here if you go too low. So keep that in mind. You have to adjust these sliders for every single piece of art you do because every single piece of art is going to be different and have different levels of detail. So you got to keep that in mind. Next one is corners. Dump that way low so I can show you what that looks like. And then I'm going to take it way high so I can show you what that looks like. It fundamentally isn't changing this one much at all. But all it means is that the higher you place the corner setting, the more like little corners it's going to make. For this particular artwork, it's not changing much. And then noise settings, you won't see much of a change in this. This is more for photo real quality or really high detailed stuff. So, you know, this is about as good as image trace is going to get it for us. So we're going to click off preview. We're going to click trace. And then we're going to click expand. That has now made this into a full vector object. Now it's a matter of we got to touch it up a little bit because as you see, there's still a lot of crap in there. Easiest tool to do that with now is this one over here under the pencil tool. Grab this smooth tool, make it so it pops up there first. Now select your object, grab the smooth, and start doing this thing. You're going to go over it. It's going to smooth out all these pieces. Just keep hitting it enough times till it starts making it to whatever level of quality you and or maybe your customer deems acceptable. But yeah, this stuff is fairly time consuming, but it makes all the difference in having the art come out well or not. So I think it is important, and maybe more importantly than that, it's important to have the customers either understanding how to do this and creating their artwork the correct way. This graphic should have just been created in Illustrator straight from the get-go and done properly. Or if they can't do that, that the production facility has the wherewithal and the understanding on the front end to say, hey, if you don't know how to do this, we are more than happy to have our artists do this. The time is very valuable, and so it's going to cost an art fee. I think that's the main lessons about stuff like this. You know, I love all the tools that we have available to us now. It's way easier to do this stuff than it ever has been before. I mean, ever has been in my career with the graphics. softwares. But that doesn't mean that it's still that it replaces the artist, or that we still don't have to spend a lot of time on it. We still have to pay for our time, because unfortunately, our time and our expertise is how we feed ourselves. So, yeah, lost time doesn't buy groceries, unfortunately. You know, I wish I could say it did, and that we could just do this stuff as much as we want at whim, but you know, that's just not the reality of the world we live in. So we've got to be conscious of our time and make sure we're planning and using it accordingly. So I'm probably pretty close to being done with this one, you know, at least to the level of acceptability from a customer standpoint of what they're not going to be disappointed with. And again, it's all about like, what is the customer expecting? Because that's what really matters. So, you know, that's a lot cleaner now. Our edges are much cleaner. Probably going to clean up some of these just a little bit more still. It's still not quite as good as I'd like them, you know, and unfortunately too, as much as I would like to, we're not aiming for perfection here. We're polishing up what was sent to us as incorrect artwork, and we're pretty darn good at doing that. But it will never replace artwork just coming over in the right way, or maybe more importantly, customers paying for an artist that is well versed in the graphics apparel industry to actually create their artwork for them the right way. You know, that's probably what it should be more than anything else. So if you're a graphic designer and artist, you don't know how to do this stuff, and or you don't know truly how to like design for apparel, let me know. We will teach you all of that. That way no one has to do this. But there you have it. So that is probably to an acceptable level. I'm going to group that all together now. And now, because it's a true vector graphic, I can resize it and I can change the colors and whatever else without now losing any of this image quality. So that's it.